Welcome to episode 8.4 of the Grumpy Brothers podcast. I am Chris Ludvigsen, joined by Ted. Say hey, Ted.
Hey, Ted.
Thank you to our listeners. Please subscribe and listen on Apple Podcast, Spotify, or Odyssey. Also, please follow us here on millions.co for these live streams. Today, we're recording on a Saturday instead of Sunday morning. We're trying to beat the latest storm of the century, Ted.
Yeah.
Nothing has started here in beautiful Richmond, Virginia, but hopefully we'll get through it fairly unscathed. But we'll see how that plays out. Um, Tonight we're going to discuss the college football final played on Monday night, and then we move to the NFL conference championship games and the playoffs, and also a little head coaching discussion. Before we
Yeah.
get to all of that, Ted, what's making you grumpy tonight?
Well, since you mentioned the Miami game, I had to. So after the game is over, they do the post game bit,
Yes.
and Carson Beck. I don't know if you saw this. Carson Beck has his interview or whatever, and in it he says, "I haven't been to class in 2 years." Now he does preface it by saying he's got a degree, which great, good. I don't care if you got it from Georgia. I don't care if he got it, in peach growing 101. Doesn't matter to me. I don't care. You know.
Fuzz, friend or foe?
Yeah. Yeah. What do we do about the pit? I mean, is it good for anything or what? So I don't care. If he got a degree, great. But he can't play if he doesn't go to school. That's 2 years, 2 different programs that went to, the playoffs and all that. He's the starting quarterback. He can't play. So the NCAA has nothing to say about any of this. The mainstream media or whatever it is now, the legacy media, I guess, crickets. Nobody has anything to. Why? Because the money is so good. We're just happy to get the money, and yeah. I mean, the university presidents and administrators. I mean, how can you even keep your job? How can you even look at anybody straight in the face and go, yeah, they're scholar athletes? Come on.
So the student athlete
It's over.
name is gone.
Yeah.
Uh, I
Unless
re-
you're like the Ivy League schools or Division II or something like that.
I remember from the days when I watched college sports even more closely, I guess, that you had to have a certain number of hours in order to be.
Yeah. It's like you had to take 9 credit hours a semester or 6 credit or something.
Yeah,
You had to show up to a class or 2. You had to make an effort. Yeah.
yeah, and you
And so
know,
what are they doing the rest of the day? I mean, okay, so they go to the football building or whatever they have, and they probably watch some film. They lift weights a couple of days a week, and then just sit around and play video games until practice starts. I don't. What are they? I mean, that's like they have like aside from practice and some, they probably have 10 hours at least of because you're going to sleep 7 or 8. So you have 10 hours of no time no required time to do anything.
it really does kind of completely obliterate any argument that this is still college sports.
Well, but okay, so here's the thing to me. Okay, the NCAA has to have heard this. Are they, if they don't want to put schools on probation or any of that kind, can't they just like audit them or something and say, listen, give us the class list. There's got to be something that they should be able to do.
And
Isn't there?
I thought if you had gotten your undergraduate degree, great,
Yeah.
but then you have to be taking at least a couple of graduate courses or
Another
additional
degree, yeah.
undergraduate
Yeah, get a
something.
second major or whatever it is you wanna do. Something to keep you at I know I remember hearing back in the '80s that a lot of, college basketball players after the NCAA tournament, they just stopped going to class because
Yes,
they're going to the
right,
pros. Okay,
right.
and so I would assume the same thing was true of football players. After, the bowls are over, if they're going pro, they may or may not be going to class anymore. Okay, if this is the case, if they're going to allow this and they're getting, he got $4 million, it's reported as NIL money, then he doesn't get a scholarship. He can't have a scholarship if he doesn't go to class.
I thought the scholarship was to go to be a college student. I thought that was
Yeah,
sort of the idea of the scholarship.
yeah, and so give the scholarship to the kid working in the kitchen
Right,
that really needs the scholarship, and
right.
make him pay to be a student, or pay for rent at the facilities, or whatever. So pay something.
Yeah.
But you can't have, and then take it out of the NCAA's auspices,
Ooh,
and
good
just
word,
get,
Ted.
yeah, thank you. And then just make it something else, and I guess they have to pay the NCAA for the right to use the college facilities, or I mean, they can work, if there's so much money, they can work the money out.
Ted, you just gave me a great thought that the next time I hear Herbie, who I
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
on any anytime, well, let's put it this way: anytime there's a college sports discussion with
Yeah.
someone who is advocating, oh, I don't know if Paul Fine, I don't listen to Paul Feinbaum's
Yeah.
show, but if he does, and if he takes callers, I would love to call in to say, Paul, do you agree with this? Is this something that you're on board with?
Yeah.
Because the people that are big voices touting the greatness of college football or college sports in general, to your point, if they're okay with it, then you and I, you've said in the past, you have to call it something other than college football. You have to just
Yeah.
call it, I don't know.
Whatever. Yeah. I mean, schools playing football at a college
Yeah,
league or something like that. I
yeah,
don't know. It's just, it's so infuriating that I mean, look, I don't have a problem with them making money. I really don't.
yeah.
But you gotta throw something at me that says that at least they're interested
And
in your.
if he had said, in the off season, in the spring semester, let's say, I take a full course load of graduate studies, and then in the
Okay.
fall semester, I take one class, and
Okay.
over the course of the year, I've got 15 credits. I can live with that.
Oh, well, yeah, I mean, if he could get 15 grand, I'd be happy if he got 6, if he
Yeah,
got 3 in each
something.
yeah, I mean, it's and maybe this is an outlier, maybe this is not the normal, but it might be more normal at those big schools than we think.
And to your point, someone from the NCAA has
Yeah,
to step up, if like they ever would, or Kirk Herbstreit or someone who has a big megaphone of a voice has to step and say, "Hey guys, this is not good. This is not good enough.
yeah,
We got to
well,
do something about this."
I saw Jay Billis on something, and he's pro, he's pro player, they should have freedom, okay, great, but they gotta go to school.
Yeah, yeah,
They have to be a student if they're getting a scholarship, and
yeah.
and they're representing the university. I mean, college sports is bad. This just makes it look so much worse. I
Yes,
mean, it's because it's two schools. It's not just one, it's two.
yeah, yeah. So Ted, for my grump, I mentioned earlier the impending winter storm.
Yeah. Yeah.
This is a weather-related grump, but not about the upcoming storm because what can we do about it? Um, but this past week for business, I was traveling, making some sales calls in the greater Chicago area. And after flying into frigid O'Hare on Monday night, I was in
Ugh.
town for a couple of days for sales calls. I actually got up as far north of just outside of Milwaukee. And on Wednesday morning, I woke up and when I was traveling around on Tuesday, I heard a couple times that a couple of inches of snow was
Right.
expected overnight on Tuesday night. And so I woke up and looked out the window, and sure enough, there was a couple of inches of snow, but it had stopped snowing at that point in the morning. So I thought, okay, I've got a couple hours before I have to go make my first sales call. Let me just throw on my clothes from yesterday. I'll go out there really quickly, 5, 10 minutes, get the car cleaned off, come back in, take the shower, get ready for the day, and then I don't have to deal with it when I go out to make my sales call. So I go out there, and the rental car gives you a little scraper with a brush on there,
Oh,
which
that's nice.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, makes life easy. 5, 10 minutes, heat the car up, get everything scraped off. I'm good to go. I'm ready to go. As I'm walking back to the nice toasty hotel,
Yeah.
um, there's a gentleman at least our age walks up to me and very politely says and asks me if I have a broom or something that he can use to clean off his car.
after he watched you clean off your car.
Ted, he just kind of appeared out of nowhere. I don't know
Yeah,
where he came from. He was like
yeah,
like
he was in the warm he was
yeah,
having
yeah, he
a
was
donut,
yeah.
looking out the window and going, "Oh, I'm gonna get that guy's broom."
So I said, "Yeah, sure, that's fine." And then proceeds to tell me that he's from Florida
Yeah,
and he's been in town for a week and this is the first time he's seen any snow. And I'm thinking to myself as I'm handing over my scraper and getting back in my car because I had to wait to get the scraper back because I had to
right,
return it
right,
to the
sure,
rental car.
sure, yeah.
I'm sitting there and I'm thinking to myself, what man of any age and maturity would come to Chicago in January
Yeah,
for a week
yeah,
and not have some type of snow removal device in his car?
that one.
Ted,
That guy.
I came for 2 days. I had boots, I had outerwear, I had gloves, hats. I was ready
Yeah,
to
right,
go.
yeah, right, yeah. You had your thermals on
I
underneath.
didn't have my thermals. What I do now is I've got a pair of like nylon warm up pants that have like a lining in them.
Yeah, yeah,
So I
yeah.
just slipped them off. And like the executive producer said, I need like the guys when they go in the game from the basketball, they just tear off
Right,
the
yeah, the
sides.
pants, yeah, that's what you need,
I
yeah,
need those so I can just rip
yeah,
them off and
that's exactly
throw
what
them
you
back
need.
on. But I'm sitting in the car thinking I could be back in the nice warm hotel, getting ready for breakfast. Instead, I'm waiting for this schmuck to finish his
Yeah, 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 no kidding, yeah. You should have said to him, "Got a credit card? Good luck."
$5 every
No, 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 I
$5
mean,
every 5 minutes.
haven't you ever seen the people sometimes when they get caught unawares, and the rental car company has not provided them any, they're out there scraping with a credit card, have you ever
Yes,
seen that?
yes, I
Yeah,
have seen that.
yeah,
I
good luck with that.
Yeah, yeah. All right, here we go, Ted. You ready?
Yeah,
Here we go. Okay. So, Ted, with the NFL regular season that has come to the end, let's have a question about who had the best individual seasons in the NFL this year.
oh, okay,
Okay, Ted,
yeah.
which two players led the league in rush yards and receiving yards this year?
Well, I think the guy from Buffalo was the leading rusher. Is it Cook? Is that his name? Can't remember his name, but
Yes,
he's a good
James
player.
Cook.
He's a good
James
player.
Cook, Ted, and I tell you, in the last off season when he was doing that holdout, I thought they're overpaying for him. But yeah,
Yeah, big year.
1,621 yards. Yeah.
Yeah, really
And
good year.
your guy, the big man Derrick Henry, put up 1595. So the Ravens have gotten their money's worth out of the two
Yes, they
seasons
have.
from him.
Yeah, yeah.
Jonathan Taylor started off like a bolt of lightning, and he kind of cooled off at the end. He finished with 1585. Bijan Robinson with the Falcons, 1478. And here's the name that really surprises me, Ted. He's a good player, but because I didn't watch a lot of the Dolphins, Devon Achane
Yeah.
from the Dolphins finished fifth with 1,350 yards.
Oh,
Okay,
wow, okay.
receiving
I'm j
yards.
I have no idea, so I'm just gonna say Puka because he catches the ball a lot.
Number two, Ted.
Oh,
Number
okay.
two,
Alright.
1,715 yards.
I uh, then I would, say, like, he didn't really seem to have that big a year, but, I didn't see the Justin Jefferson, I don't know.
Now, he really struggled with the
Yeah.
quarterback play. Ted, this is going to surprise you. Clearly, it's going to surprise you. From the Seattle Seahawks,
Okay,
Jackson Smith Njigba from The Ohio
okay,
State University,
alright.
1,793 yards. Everybody made a big deal when the Seahawks let DK Metcalf go. I think they knew what they had in Smith Njigba.
Oh, no question. Yeah, they knew he's a good player, and he's probably half the price and a lot less
A
headache.
lot less headaches.
Yeah, yeah. You've said it before. You feel Metcalf's a little overrated or underperforms or whatever. Um, so I think that Seattle felt the same way, and why pay for all this when we have because they went out and got Cooper Cup
Yeah.
to sort of help with be a
Yeah,
possession
they are probably getting Cup and Smith and Jigba for less than what they would have had to
guy. Yeah,
pay
right,
Metcalf and
right.
getting better production and to your point, less headaches. Ted, Metcalf has the Adonis build. I mean, the
Right.
guy's huge. And there was always that play where he raced down the guy down the sideline after the interception. And
Right.
ever since then, I think everybody thinks he's this superhuman player. And he's
He looks well, it's like, Megatron. He's
yeah.
like Megatron too, but he doesn't have the production.
Well, and they always talk about the guys that look like that look good getting off the bus.
Right, yeah, yeah,
DK Metcalf is the guy that looks great getting off the bus,
great in
but
the airport, yeah,
then he finishes with 4 catches and 34 yards, and you go, "What's all the fuss about?"
yeah, right.
Ted, some interesting names 3 through 5. George Pickens,
Yeah, okay,
Mr. Knucklehead had a big year with the Cowboys, 1,429 yards. Jamar Chase, for all of the
yeah.
issues with the Bengals this year, finished with 1,412, and Amon St. Brown had another great year for the Lions,
Yeah, I should have thought of him.
1,401.
Yeah, yeah, I should have thought of him because he does catch he gets a lot of balls thrown his
And
way.
then
Yeah.
between him and Puka Nakua, in terms of 2 wide receivers that are not going to beat anybody on a 40-yard sprint, but get the most out of getting open and then doing the most with the ball in their hands. Those are 2 really good players. You put those 2 guys and they're going to block for you and they're going to get tough yards when you need them. Those 2 good players.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, and they're, now they're both with veteran quarterbacks who know how to get them the ball and all that good stuff, but, guys that were probably picked in what, the 4th, 3rd,
yeah.
4th,
I think
5th round.
Puka was a 5th round. I think Amon St. Brown was a 4th round, something along
Yeah.
those lines.
Yeah.
Ted, let's go to the games. Indiana and Miami. The Hurricanes scored 21 points in the second half. The Hoosiers use a blocked punt for a touchdown and a great final drive to hold on for a 27-21 win and their first national championship in football. Your thoughts?
Well, I mean, look, the way we talked about, like, I wanted Miami to to really, uh, try and pressure Mendoza, see what yeah, and he proved. I mean, I think they did. I think they made s took some, I think they could have gone a little harder at him, but, maybe I mean, they clearly know what they're looking at better than I do. But they made him move his feet some, and he wasn't as efficient as he had been in the previous games where he just got to stand there and didn't step and throw. But I think he showed, more things. He ran the ball more. He took that kinda semi shot that wasn't legal and showed he could hang in there and take, play with a broken lip or whatever. And then the run at the end was really good and led him down the field. The line play, I thought, kind of balanced out. Both sides had, moments where they were better than, the other side for a little while. And then, the thing that happens with any of those games when somebody gets a weird touchdown,
Mm.
it oftentimes is a
And
difference maker.
when it's not the underdog, when it's the favorite
Right,
that gets
right.
that play, yeah. Um,
And that's
Ted,
something that Indiana has been very good at, is blocking kicks and special teams stuff. Yeah.
well, it just goes into the overall sort of it fits them that they're good in special teams. They're so good and
They're so
on.
prepared at everything. Yeah,
Yes. Yeah,
yeah.
exactly. Ted, I thought the Hurricanes played well enough to win the
Yes.
game,
Oh, they absolutely did, yeah.
particularly in the second half, Ted. And I missed one thing that in the start of the second half or at halftime, they made the comment that one of their defensive backs, I think one of the Hurricanes cornerbacks, had been out the first half because he'd had one of the spearing
Right,
penalties.
right, that's right, yeah.
And in the second half, they seemed to come up and play more man, more pressure, and make life more difficult on Mendoza. And the 2 D linemen that are both going to be first round picks, Bain and Messidor, they combined for 3 sacks. The running back Fletcher played great. He had 112 yards and a touchdown, including the long run that kind of
Right.
got them back in the game. The wide receiver Tony was excellent, 10 catches, 122 yards and a touchdown. Even Beck played well enough to,
Yeah, he played well enough to win the game, yeah.
the last penalty, the last interception was a little bit of a force.
Yes.
Um, I think they
But they
still
were
had
running out
time.
of time. They're
They were
running out of
running out of time, but I think he could have. I think he didn't have to throw that ball in that situation. Maybe if he'd spent a few more hours in film time instead of canoodling with one of the Cavendish
Oh, now,
sisters.
now, 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 now.
Okay.
He was playing video games. He was playing
Okay.
Grand Theft Auto to see if he could find his car.
His Bentley. Didn't he get a Bentley or something? I can't
It
remember what it
was a
was.
Lamborghini or something, I don't know. A high-end car, yeah.
Yes.
You have
Uh,
$4,000,000 and you don't have to pay rent, you can
and you
buy
don't have to go to class.
you don't have to buy it, you
Um,
can buy a car.
yeah, and what I think about Mendoza is when you just look at the stats, his stats in this game 16 for 27, 186. Okay. But the John Elway esque run on the final drive
Yeah, yeah.
showed toughness and athleticism. in the cup, I can't remember if it was the last drive or the next last drive. He hit a couple of big third or fourth down throws on those back shoulder throws to the third wide receiver Cooper. What I love about Mendoza is that when you put him in a tough situation, he comes up to the task. He doesn't get overwhelmed. So when I look at Mendoza, there was a part, and I think I mentioned this last time we spoke. When I first saw him, I thought, he's one of those guys, the more you see him, the more he grows on you, in my opinion, in that he always seems to make the big plays. He's a smart kid. He's a hardworking kid. He's got good size. He's got decent arm strength. He's got enough athleticism, and he makes good decisions. I, I I think he's a legitimate number one pick.
Well, it looks like he's gonna be.
Yeah,
Um,
Tommy
I
was
mean,
at the game.
yeah, I mean, I wish he would not end up with a team like the Raiders. I Because I wonder if he's really that guy, that is he gonna get just beat up and sort of spit out after 5 years because the Raiders stink and they don't have any direction and they don't hire the right coach. I mean, I think that, if a we're gonna talk about the Steelers in a little bit, but given who the Steelers hired as a head coach, I mean, if I'm the Steelers, if you don't think Aaron's coming back and you're not in love with Mason Rudolph, throw as much draft capital as you can, draft this kid and because then if you have a team around him, he doesn't have to do all the lifting, you know?
Well, you touched on something there, Ted, a moment ago in your comment that, and we're going to talk about 6 head coaching positions have now been filled, and one of the ones that remains open is the Raiders. And assuming they take Signetti, they either have to
You mean
hit on,
Mendoza.
I
They're
mean
gonna take
Mendoza.
because
Assuming
it's
they
been
take,
rumored that they're trying to get Signetti to come with him.
well, wouldn't you?
I would, yeah, sure.
Yeah,
But
I think,
he's gonna make more at Indiana than the Raiders are willing to pay probably.
and Signetti. The one thing about Signetti, as much as I love him, I wonder if his act would run cold after a couple of years. Like the first couple of years, you hear him and listen to and look at that scowl on the sideline, you'd be like, okay. But after 3 or 4 years, and you're making 15, 20 million, you're kind of like, what's that guy pissed off all the time about?
Well, you have to win. He'd have to win.
Yeah,
Because if you win, a lot of that goes, they can put up with it. You
yeah.
have to win. Yeah.
So I think the Raiders have to hit either a really good offensive minded head coach. I don't know who's left that is worth hiring. In terms of, are they going to go after one of the Kubiak sons?
Yeah,
Is
right.
the Seahawks offensive coordinator? He's left. Would they maybe try and go and pick someone off the McVay staff and
Right.
try and implement that offense out there? Um, I think that hire is super critical because if they get the wrong coach
Right.
and the wrong coordinator, yeah, I think it's just going to continue to go downhill.
And Mendoza's gonna pay the price.
Yeah. Let's go to the head coaches, Ted. The 6 hires in order. The Giants signed the big name John Harbaugh. The Falcons signed Kevin Stefanski. We hear today, just today, the Steelers are signing Mike McCarthy. And then the Titans signed Robert Saleh. Ravens signed Jesse Minter. And the Dolphins signed Jeff Hafley. Let's begin with Harbaugh because I think he's the big name he was obviously the big name on the
Right.
board. And in my opinion, any team that signed him gets an A on their scorecard in terms of their decision making.
Yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, but and part of it is the Giants have been a mess for a while.
Yep.
And much like when we talked about several years ago when Ron Rivera went to Washington, this is just as much about straightening everything up as it is about winning games, because he's not going to win games if Jackson Dart isn't the guy. And if some of the other guys don't come through, he's got to be the hit because it's a 5-year deal. Jackson Dart's got to play well.
And he's got to stay out of the blue tent.
Yeah. Yeah, he does.
Ted, I heard Harbaugh say one thing that caught my ear, and I think this might have been a partial dig and a partial self promotion. It's a little bit of a dig at the Ravens. I guess they were talking about Jackson Dart and him developing Jackson Dart, and he made the comment. He said, you have to remember, I was the head coach when the Ravens selected and started Lamar Jackson, and we kind of completely changed our offense and changed
Right.
our offense in a way that was unusual. I mean, they were the first team to really implement that style of
Yes.
offense in the NFL, and that was a Harbaugh.
Yeah, they chose that because they had Flacco,
Yeah,
and he got hurt, and then,
yeah,
they didn't have any other option. Yeah, they had Jackson was their backup, and he and Flacco were diametrically opposed as how you would run an offense with them.
yeah. Um, I think that uh, yeah, I like your comment about just cleaning up the organization and making things as structured as possible. Um, I heard an interview, or I heard someone talking about Mike Vrabel when he came into the Patriots, and he was down in the locker room or something, and he noticed a bunch of towels strewn all over the room and in the shower area and whatnot. And the equipment manager came up to him and said, "Oh, I'll put those away." And Vrabel said, "No, no, leave them on the floor. It's the player's responsibility to know where to put the towels." And
Right,
what I love about that story is it says to you when you get a disciplined guy in the room, he's not only going to be disciplined about what you do on the field, he's going to be disciplined about everything you do. So anything that you're associated with this team, you're going to do it the right way. And this is how we do things. And that's just, I think that's
right,
one of those little things that instills a certain structure and discipline in a team.
right. I mean, because eventually, if you leave all the towels on the floor, everybody's going to go, "What are all these towels doing here?" And then he can come in and say, "The towels belong over there. This guy is not paid to go pick up your towels. He's paid to wash them. So give him a break and put them over there."
And it sounds silly, but I think you start with not putting your towels in the right place, and then you go to maybe not studying in the film room as closely as you should, and then you run the wrong route in a critical situation, or you block the wrong guy, or you fill the wrong gap as a linebacker, just because you're just not locked in the way that you need to be. And in the NFL, it's such a thin line between
That's right.
good and
Yeah.
great or bad and good that those little details are what make the difference because everybody's got talent.
Yes.
Um,
Right. They're not there because, they're somebody's cousin. They're there because they can play or they have
now,
the talent to play.
now, Ted, I see a lot of people saying with Harbaugh, the Giants are now a playoff contender. They won 4 games last year.
Yeah.
I'm not convinced Jackson Dart's an elite quarterback or even a top half of the NFL quarterback. Uh, their two best offensive weapons, Malik Neighbors and Cam Scadaboo, are both coming back from pretty serious injuries. They've got an elite left tackle in Andrew Thomas. They got a nice front seven with Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, and the second year player Abdel Carter. But to your point, that one of the things you start with, if Dart is not good,
Yeah, then it's not gonna work. Um, the thing they really have going for them, is they will have the last place schedule.
yeah,
And, so if Dart plays well,
yeah,
you don't have to be the best quarterback in the
no,
league, but if he plays well and these some of these guys come back from injuries and some of these other guys improve and they create a system that works for these guys and all that kind of, he's been around the block long enough. Could you see him get to 9 wins? Maybe.
yes.
Contend? Yeah,
I'd
maybe.
put the over under at 7.5, but it would not shock me in the last game of the year that we're saying if everything breaks right, the Giants could get the
Right.
last wild card spot.
Right. And I think if nothing else, it puts the rest of the division, the NFC East, on notice.
Yeah.
The Giants are serious now. They're,
Yeah, you're not going to
maybe,
walk in and get an easy win. All right, let's
yeah,
go to
yeah.
Stefanski going to Atlanta. I like this pick or this hire, Ted. He makes the playoffs twice with Cleveland and would probably still be there if not for the Deshaun Watson trade debacle and
Uh,
the ongoing mess at quarterback there. Um, I like this because the Falcons invested a high first round pick in quarterback Michael Penix. They're saying to him, "We believe in you. We expect you to be our quarterback for the next 10 to 15 years. And we're giving you what we think is the best offensive minded head coach available to us to help you
yeah.
continue to be or become an elite NFL quarterback."
Yeah. I mean, now he's coming off a serious knee injury.
Yep.
So is he going to be ready for the start of the season? Probably not. Right. Or I wouldn't rush him back.
No.
Um, So he might miss the first 4 games, 6 games, whatever, Um, so next year might be a bit of a I wouldn't call it a throwaway year, but for lack of a better term, we'll call it that. But it's the year after. Penix
Yeah,
shows up in training camp ready to, 100% and
yeah,
plays the majority of the season uninjured or, well enough to play all the time. That's if he hasn't gotten it right by then, they have to go looking for somebody else
yep, yep.
because he's not a young
No,
NFL player.
no,
He
no.
moved around.
Yeah, he started in Indiana.
Right,
The last time Indiana was pretty good was with Michael Penix at quarterback and Kalen DeBoer as the offensive coordinator.
right.
He followed Kalen DeBoer out to Washington, where they struck gold, and the rest is history.
So he's what, 25 or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah,
So
yeah.
so he's not going to be by the end of the 27 season, if he's 27, 20, and it hasn't, it's not
It hasn't
clicking.
blossomed yet. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be time to
they're
move
gonna
on.
yep.
Okay, let's go on to Mike McCarthy, and just announced today that the Steelers are hiring him. And when I was driving around this week, I heard a lot of discussion that McCarthy was being mentioned for the Steelers, and it's interesting how he's not considered an elite coach. But Ted, I looked up his numbers. Um, Jim Harbaugh has won 61% of his games in 18 seasons and made the playoffs 12 years and has a Super Bowl win. Mike McCarthy's been a head coach in the NFL 18 years, has a 61% winning percentage, 12 winning seasons, 12 playoffs, and a Super Bowl win. Sounds a lot like Harbaugh.
Yeah, it does sound like a lot like Harbaugh. Yeah. Yeah, he's gotten a bit of a bad rap, because of how it ended in Green Bay with Rodgers.
Yep.
Is that his fault? Yeah. Now I wonder if people are looking at him going, you know, um, Aaron's a little more than what we thought.
Yeah.
So this maybe McCarthy's a little better than what we thought.
Yeah.
And in Dallas,
He won 12
Prescott,
games 3 years in a row in Dallas.
right? They just didn't win in the playoffs. So, which is a thing, but Pittsburgh's a team that's built to win now, or they think they're built to win now. If they can just fix the quarterback spot, right?
Now, you just mentioned, and we've talked about it before, there was not a great parting of the ways, and supposedly the Packers let McCarthy go because Aaron didn't want him to be the coach
Right.
anymore. So this, to me, almost seals the fact that the Steelers already know that Aaron is not coming back. So to me, the Steelers have a gaping hole at quarterback. Um,
You're not in love with Mason Rudolph. Okay.
I'm not in love with Mason.
Okay.
I think Mason Rudolph is a top 5 backup quarterback in the NFL, but I don't think you can, assuming the Ravens come back, and assuming that Joe Burrow can stay healthy for a year in that division, I don't think you can win the division when
With
with
Mason
Mason
Rudolph.
Rudolph as your quarterback, with having to contend with Lamar Jackson and Joe Burrow in the same division.
It's a tough ask because you got 4 games with those 2 teams, and
Right.
you'd be lucky to split them in that scenario.
Yeah.
I would think anyway.
So I liked what Malik Willis did as a backup for the Packers this year. You mentioned earlier today when we were talking about this, Mac Jones. I think one of
Yeah.
those two guys could be an interesting thing. I still like Kyler Murray, and I don't think he wants to play I don't think the Cardinals want him anymore.
No.
I think he's got a lot of talent. I don't know if he's the right fit in Pittsburgh, but
The thing about him, to me, is he's got a reasonably big did they give him 50 or is he in the 30s,
it's a
40s?
big number. It's more than
Yeah.
40. I can't remember the exact number, but it's a big number.
So if you trade for him, you almost have to trade 1 or 2 of your high priced defensive players,
Well, I wonder if you could do a
or
deal
you
with the Cardinals
restructure.
and say, we'll take him off your hands. We'll give you a 4th round pick, but you've got to pick up half of his salary.
Yeah, I mean, there could, or a restructure of his
Something like
contract.
that.
Some they could do something,
Yeah.
because the thing about McCarthy is he's not okay. So the Steelers this is their 4th coach, kids, since 1969, since man landed on the moon for the first time, which they did,
Maybe they did. Maybe they did. How about to put it this way? We'll agree that since Richard Nixon was president,
Okay, since Richard Nixon was president, this is their 4th head coach. Now the difference between the other 3 and McCarthy, aside from the fact that McCarthy's more of a known entity than the other 3 were when they were hired, right?
Yeah.
Chuck Noll was an assistant somewhere,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. Um, is that he's much older.
Hmm.
So, I don't know how old he is he.
He's got to be in his 60s. Got
Yeah.
to be.
So, if they gave him a 5-year deal, this might be all he does is the
Yeah.
5 years and he goes home. But it's not gonna be 15.
No,
Doesn't seem like.
no, I don't think
So,
he's going to be prowling the sidelines at 77. No, I
well,
don't
I
think
don't think
so.
it's Andy Reid or Mark Levy or any of those
Yeah.
guys that hung around that. So, so they have to get this right now.
Hmm.
This has to happen now. And so if you go get a Kyler Murray, then to me, you have to, and you have to go get, you have to try and get Cliff Kingsbury or somebody as an open-minded offensive guy that McCarthy can say, okay, listen, we're gonna, these are the rules. We have to stay within these rules. Uh, but then anything in between, I'm leaving to you, kind of thing.
Let's go to Kingsbury, Ted, because the other three head coaches, there's a common denominator: Robert Sala, Jesse Minter, and Jeff Halfley. The common denominator is
Defensive coordinators.
yes. Now, I like Sala. I like Minter. I think I'm not quite certain about Halfley. The Packer defense fell off a cliff after Micah went away, but let's give him the benefit of the doubt. But each of those three guys, particularly Sala with the Titans, having last year's first overall pick, Cam Ward, who showed some flashes
Yeah,
this year,
right.
he's got to get the offensive coordinator right. Now,
Well,
he
see,
won it.
that's another place where Kingsbury could go.
Okay, so to me, Cliff Kingsbury is sitting in the catbird seat. I don't
Yeah.
think he's going to get a head coaching job. I think
No,
he's
I
got a
don't think
bit of a taint on him
yeah.
after the Arizona situation. But I think he could walk into any place he wants to. And if I'm Cliff Kingsbury, I'm sitting in the Ravens front office saying, "Here's how much I want to come and coach Lamar
Right,
Jackson and
right,
get him to a Super Bowl."
right, right. Yeah. Or, if the Ravens aren't interested in paying his price, maybe the Titans are, and we got a young guy, we can develop him. Or the Steelers might be and say, hey, look, we got Kyler Murray or, whoever, somebody that plays in that fashion.
Yeah.
And we need help to get him. Although, I mean,
If
McCarthy
if
is
if somehow the state of Mississippi doesn't rule for Trinidad Chambliss and he's there at 20 whenever the Steelers
right,
are
right, right.
picking,
Yeah.
he would be a perfect guy for Kingsbury to coach out.
Right. Yes. Yeah. But it's got to be somebody. I think it has to be some sort of veteran in the NFL because they don't have a lot of time with this group because of the contracts and the age and everything. So, I mean, I just think they have to get somebody who's played in the league and that they can because even if they don't get Kingsbury, McCarthy has always had pretty good offenses. So he might have a scheme or a guy in mind that he might love Mac Jones and say, okay, I can make this work with him, kind of.
Or if you're gonna let's say you go get Mac Jones, maybe there's an assistant under Kyle Shanahan, maybe there's a
Right.
quarterback coach that knows how to get the best out of Mac Jones, and you implement that Rams Niners
Right. Right. Yeah. Yeah.
offense in Pittsburgh. But whatever they do, to your point, I think you make a really good point, Ted, because they've got an old overpay. I think the guy that's got to be gone is Jalen Ramsey. He's making like 25 million
Oh
dollars a
yeah.
year.
Yeah. Yeah.
They
Yeah.
put
They're
him
gonna
at
get rid of
safety,
him.
and he's a good player, but he's not worth 25 million dollars playing
Well,
safety.
that game, that last game of the season against the Ravens, the two, I mean, he's looking around. He was, I don't know if he messed up the coverage, but you know, he was involved in those
Yeah.
plays. Yeah.
Let's go to the games on the field. Let's start with the Texans and the Patriots, Ted. My Patriots.
Yeah.
We spoke last week, Ted, about which of the two young quarterbacks in this game was going to either make the big play and or avoid the costly turnover.
Yeah.
In the first half, Drake May completed less than 53% of his passes, was sacked 3 times, threw an interception, and lost a fumble, and was by far the better quarterback than CJ Stroud, who
Yeah.
threw
Not even
4
close.
interceptions with a 39% completion ratio.
And one of them returned for a touchdown, right? Yeah.
Now,
Not even close. Drake May had 2 turnovers and is head and shoulders better than the other guy.
now, at halftime, and I heard some people talking about it afterwards, I was thinking, is that performance so bad that you have to turn to Davis Mills in the second half?
Yes. Based on his performance in the previous playoff game where he was bad,
Yeah.
this was this was off the charts bad. I mean, it looked like, a high school kid running around just trying to make a play. That was awful. You have to go up to him at halftime and say, "CJ, it's not your day, and we're going to the bullpen." You know.
Now, I would have been okay if D'Amico Ryans had gone to him at halftime and said, CJ, are you okay? Can you do this? We're going to start you in the second half and give you a shot because you're our guy. But early in the second half, he had a play on a third down. It was just a little short
Right.
out or a little swing pass to a running back or something. And he basically dirted it like 3 feet in front of the guy. And to me, it looked like he almost shot put it or kind of guided it in there,
Right.
thinking,
Right.
he had no, to your point, he had no confidence in that point. At that point, I would have pulled him out of the game definitively.
And, I don't know. I mean, I noticed he had tape around the middle finger of his throwing hand. Was he hurt? Was his shoulder hurt? Because even the balls that he managed to get past the line of scrimmage when he put his foot down and threw, and he stepped into, didn't seem from TV and a million miles away like they had anything on it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, I've looked, and given the fact he played so poorly in their win,
Yeah.
you have to go. I mean, you don't wonder how many millions of dollars he's cost himself. Because now the Texans have to be thinking now. 3 weeks ago, a month ago, they were like, okay, CJ's our guy. I mean, he kind of had a bad year, but he'll bounce back. It's fine. Now they look at that and they have to be going, oh wow, what are we gonna give the rest? If we're gonna give him the contract extension?
Not anytime soon. They might pick up his fifth year option and give him 2 more years. But
Okay.
your point is
But
well
he's not
made.
but he's not getting the
He's not getting 55 million a year. No, no,
no,
no,
he's
no,
not getting the
no.
Davis, or Jordan Love
He's not
contract,
getting the Jordan Love deal. At this
unless
point,
he's
his best.
great. Unless he's great next year and they go, maybe they go to the Super Bowl or whatever, but
I would pick up the fifth year option. And if he plays well enough in the next year too, and you think you're close, maybe you just franchise him a year. Anyway, he might end up getting the Dak Prescott treatment there for a while.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Ted, there are a couple of other things about this game that I wanted to point out. Last week, after the Texans beat the Steelers, we talked about how they ran for 160 yards on the ground. Last week, the Patriots held them to 48.
Yeah.
And I heard the ESPN New England reporter on a radio show before the game started, making a great point that a week or two earlier, the defensive tackle for the Patriots, Milton Williams, who had been the Super Bowl hero for the Eagles, one of the Super Bowl heroes last year for the Eagles, had come back. He had been injured middle part of the season, been out a portion of the season, and then he came back. And when he came back, it improved their run defense, not only because he's a really good player, because then it made certain that the other defensive tackle, Christian Barmore, was always going to be single blocked.
Okay.
So that
Yeah.
made Barr more effective and it made the overall run defense effective. They held him to 48 yards. I thought that was a huge part of the game. Um, the other thing, Ted, when we first started talking about the Patriots this year, I in part kind of poo pooed them in part because I thought they had a very poor wide receiving group. I thought it was Stephon Diggs and a bunch of guys that should be on the practice squad. But Ted, their wide receivers are playing really well.
Yes, they are. Yeah. Yeah.
Diggs made a really good a tight window catch for a touchdown on the first touchdown, and then the diving catch, even with the tacky gloves by
Yeah.
Butte to kind of seal the game. Those two guys, Ted, in that game combined for 9 catches, 151 yards, and 3 touchdowns.
That's a pretty good day.
You get that performance from your wide receivers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that'll get it done. Yep, yep. I will. I do want to. I mean, the Patriots have been very good, and all that. But when you think about they're catching a bit of a break. I think in the playoffs, in that they beat up Justin Herbert because he had no offensive line, and so they couldn't run the ball, so they were just teeing off on him. And then this past game, CJ Stroud there's no running game again. They shut down the run. They put it on Stroud, and Stroud was awful.
You get yeah, spit the
Awful.
bit, as Mad Dog would say.
Yeah. And so now going to Denver, they're going to be playing against the backup that was supposed to replace Tommy, right?
Yeah,
And then they released him or traded him or whatever. So they have not faced elite quarterback play, I
no,
would say.
no. Ted, the
But
other thing
in
that,
part of that is that they have done things to make, they've taken the run away
yeah,
and then allowed themselves to go after people. So
you almost think that they're kind of, they might have been touched by a higher power because to that point also. And the other thing about their playoff run so far, they've won 2 games without Drake May playing
right,
particularly well.
right.
So
And even Henderson hasn't had the big play.
no, no.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's go to the other game, which is the Rams going into Chicago, surviving the cold, and another great comeback from the Bears for a 20-17 overtime win. First series, the Rams offense looked great, looked like a machine right down the
Right.
field. Cold weather's not bothering them. Then after that, I thought the Bears defensive coordinator, another guy, Ted, who was a failed head coach, Dennis Allen, is the poster child of great coordinator,
Right.
bad head
Yeah.
coach. He failed like in 5 games with the Raiders. Everybody fails
Well,
with the Raiders these days. And then he failed in New Orleans
right.
following up Peyton. But he's a really good defensive coordinator. And in the second half against the Packers, and in the second and third quarters in this game against the Rams, he turned up the pressure.
Right.
And against the Rams, what I noticed was he brought a lot of defensive back blitzes. The safety got a sack, one of the cornerbacks got a sack. I loved his how he game planned and really shut the Rams down for 2 quarters. Um, your thoughts on this game?
Well, the Bears should have won. Yeah, when you hold if what did you say to us
Yeah,
before?
here are the
What
stats, Ted.
Yeah,
The Bears outgained the Rams 417 to 340. They outgained them on the ground 160 to 111. They got 4 sacks and held the Rams to 17 points in regulation.
right. If you hand that to Sean McVay before the game, we're gonna lose.
Yeah.
If you tell them that before the game, we're gonna lose unless we get, like a defensive touchdown or a special teams kind of thing, yeah. And realistically, the Bears they lost, but they shouldn't even been in overtime. I mean, that play at the end with Caleb Williams running back 100 yards or whatever it was and just throwing one up, and the 2 Rams guys just sort of watching it going, "Oh, that's pretty I can't believe he threw it that far." And then there's one guy in the building that they have to cover, and 2 of them are standing there watching the ball. I think the defensive back coach may have something to say to them.
In the film room.
Film room might be a little difficult for those 2 guys.
Um, Teddy, early in regulation, or I'm sorry, early in overtime, after that incredible throw that just
Right, yeah.
took your
Now let
breath
me ask
away.
you something before you
Yeah.
go. If you're the Bears, do you
Mm.
go for 2 there? Let's get
Ooh.
this over with and win. It's cold, let's get out of here. We've got momentum. I mean,
You
I
know,
know
I've
that most people say when you're at home, you play for the
you play
tie.
for the tie at home, you go for the win on the road.
But and now particularly with the rules where in overtime both teams have to have the ball,
Yeah.
which only makes sense. I guess it makes sense just to kick it and, you know
Well, here's the other thing that to discuss from a strategic standpoint, Ted. Mad Dog has on every so often Jason Garrett,
yeah,
and he Mad Dog asked the question of in an overtime playoff game, do you want the ball first or do you want to defend first?
yeah.
And the school of thought is you always want to defend first because if the other team scores, you know what you need to do, and
Right,
if they've scored, you have to go for it on fourth down
right,
until you
right.
get in scoring position. But there's also a school of thought that neither if neither team scores or if both teams score, if you get the ball first, you get one extra possession.
Right, right, and then a field goal wins,
Right,
like it did in this game, yeah.
right. But Jason Garrett was like, no, no, you always want to play defense first because you have to know what you need to do on that offensive possession. Um,
Well,
early
I
in
you
o-
can get the ball first and know what you have to do, you gotta score a touchdown.
Yeah, but Ted, if it's 4th and 1 from your own 39 and
Well,
it's your
I know,
first
yeah,
possession,
yeah,
you
I
you
know,
punt
yeah,
it. In the
yeah.
If it's
I
fourth
know,
and
I
one
know.
and you're down by 7, you go for it.
Yeah, I know, yeah, I know. I'm just kidding, I'm
So
just
Ted, early in overtime, after that stupendous throw to tie the game, the Bears have the ball on like a 3rd and 8, and Caleb scrambles and runs and gets a first down.
Right,
And Collinsworth, who's doing the color on the game, has a great quote. He says, we've now seen the full Caleb Williams experience,
Yeah.
which I
Yeah.
love that term because when you watch Caleb Williams, you see
Yes. You see a lot of
everything.
things. Yeah.
You know, his stats don't always look pristine, but how many guys can make that play that he made to tie the game?
Very
Him and
few.
Mahomes.
Yeah. Very few. Yeah.
Maybe Josh Allen could make that play.
Yeah. 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 Because
So there's that,
it's,
but
it's 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 almost like the Willie Mays catch in the World Series. A lot of guys could maybe make the catch, but who can make the throw?
um, but when you say the Caleb Williams experience, a couple plays later, he throws the third interception, which leads to the game-winning field goal.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. It's all part of the package, man.
right, uh, they've clearly hit a home run with Ben Johnson as head
Yeah.
coach. Caleb Williams looks like a home run as quarterback. They've got 2 more years with him on the rookie contract. They got to go for it in these next 2 years.
Big boy schedule next year, though.
Yeah.
So we're going to find out a little bit about everybody then. But you're right; they have to go for it. They have to make the splash now. Yeah.
And I don't know what they have to do, but the first 2 draft picks have to be defensive players.
Yes.
One of
Yes.
them has to be someone that can get after the quarterback. Has to.
Unless
Um,
you're going to spend some money in free agency on the defensive side of the ball.
yeah. But Ted, they might even if they have some cap room, they probably have to start saving cap room because eventually they got to get the $55 million deal to
Yeah.
Caleb.
And the thing is, you can get usually defensive guys. You want the fast young guys that don't cost you a lot of money because there's more of them. It's easier to play defense than
Well,
play
this
quarterback.
is one of the great points I think that Colin Cowherd makes regularly, which is the Rams and the Chiefs have both done the same thing. They've spent the bulk of their money on offense, and on
Yeah.
defense, they draft really well and they draft young guys that fly around and play
Right.
hard. And you hit it, the Rams
Well,
hit with
that's
Jared Verse, they hit with a few other that Kobe Turner, and the Chiefs hit with a few guys, and there you go. You have a
yeah.
competitive
Tampa
offense. I
Tampa
mean
kind of
defense.
Tampa kind of showed people how to do that when they got Brady.
Yeah,
Yeah, because they spent their money on the line and the offensive players to support him,
yeah.
and went out and got a bunch of guys just to run around and be fast and aggressive.
Now we come back to this game, Ted, and we talk about the Caleb Williams experience, and it's fun to watch. And Matthew Stafford was not great. 20 for 42, 258, no touchdowns. But Ted, in those conditions, no turnovers.
Yeah, yeah,
And
that's
we talked about the stats that went in the Bears' favor. The one thing that went in the Rams' favor was the turnovers.
right, right. Yeah, yeah. I mean, they played well enough to keep themselves in the game.
Yeah, yeah. And maybe next year, as a little bit more mature team, and Caleb learns how not to make a few of those mistakes,
Right.
that's the game they get over the hump in. So
Yep.
there you go. Okay, here you go, Ted. Ted's favorite time of the week. Here we go, Ted.
Close enough. Twice.
Yeah. Um, so Ted, going into last week, you were 28 and 23, and I was all the way back down at 21 and 30. You had another solid week, 2-1, but with my Pats, I was 3-0, Ted.
Yeah.
Maybe a little too late, but I'll take a good week. For the season, you're firmly entrenched in first place with a 30-24 record, and I'm at 24 and 30. I think I might have to adopt the Mad Dog strategy of he's been picking games all years with a guy from the Dan Lebitard show, and the guy from the Lebitard show has just swamped him. And so Mad Dog has now implemented the playoffs, which is these weighted picks, which is his way of getting himself back into the mix.
Weak. Very weak. Take it like a man. Take your losses like a man, just like you're doing now.
That's right. Okay, Ted. First game being played tomorrow. The Patriots go into Mile High,
Yeah.
and that is definitely a home field advantage. That altitude is a real thing. But Bo Nix, to your point earlier, Bo Nix is out with a broken bone in the ankle, so the Patriots are favored by 4.5. If Nix was playing, Ted, I think this is like a 3-point spread for the
Right.
Broncos.
Yes.
Now, with Jarrett Stidham playing instead of Nix, I think this game comes down to a couple of factors. First, can Jarrett Stidham play well enough that he doesn't make mistakes that are critical?
Right.
And I think he's got enough experience. I don't know that he's going to put up 300 yards and 3 touchdowns, but I expect him to play well. Not great, but well. But the other thing that I'm wondering is with a backup quarterback in play, Sean Payton is known as a very aggressive play caller. All those years with Drew Brees, he threw the
Right.
ball all over the lot. And with Bo Nix, I think Nix had the most pass attempts in the NFL
I
this year.
think so. I think that's right.
So
Yeah.
he likes to throw the ball. With a backup quarterback, will Payton turn to a run game and try to shorten the game?
I think you have to try, at least make an effort, particularly as long as the game is close, because you don't want Stidham to be in a position of being 2 touchdowns down and, the run game is out the door. And because we've seen what the Patriots do when they can just come after people, when they can just come after the quarterback and not worry about the run.
And the other interesting thing is we talked about, again, it was a banged up Charger offensive line, but they held the Texans to 48 yards last week. They are
Yeah.
playing good. And, we talked about with Vrabel, you're going to play tough defense.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, because he could still it looks like he can still show you how to play tough defense.
When he leans down like that,
Yeah.
man, I wouldn't want to disappoint that
No,
guy.
no. I will say this, and I'm not trying to coach the Broncos. Certainly, Sean Payton knows a lot more about it than I do. But if early in the game, if you get into a situation where it's 2nd and 2 at your own 40, 45, or something like that, take a shot.
Hmm,
Take a shot down the field just to show the Patriots you're not afraid to take a shot,
hmm,
and tell Stidham, just throw it as far as you can. If he runs under it, great. If he doesn't, it's okay. We just wanna show them that we're
yeah,
not afraid to
yeah.
do this. Um, I that's what I would do. I think that's always a kind of a good strategy, is to because the Patriots know him. They had him. He was supposed to be Tom's replacement, right? And
Hmm.
they got rid of him. So you have to show that. I think you have to show them that you're willing to be aggressive at, selectively aggressive, right?
Interesting. Yeah.
And now I think the Broncos, a weird touchdown,
Mm.
special teams, defensive touchdown, or especially early, could put the Patriots back a little bit on their heels. And I think the Denver defense has to be really, really good. They have to make Drake May play like he's played the last 2 games.
So, Ted, the Broncos lead the NFL in the most sacks,
Yeah.
and they have the highest second pressure rate. I always kind of laugh at that stat. How do you determine when you've gotten pressure or not? I don't know who decides that or not. But anyway, according to Pro Football Reference, my
Yeah.
guide for all things.
Whatever second pressure rate is, they're good at.
Yeah, exactly. But the point is with Nick Bonito, Allen, the defensive lineman, they get after the quarterback.
Right.
And Drake May in the first 2 playoff games, one of the things he has done in both games is put the ball on the ground.
Right. Right.
So if if Stidham plays well or well enough,
Yeah.
and if Peyton runs the ball enough to keep the game tight, if the defense can get a strip sack, give him a short field or two, give him a couple of easy
Right.
scores, it wouldn't shock me if this is a really close game at the end of the game.
Yeah.
With
I
that,
yeah,
go
I
ahead.
think the only thing that throws that out, or not out, but is Patriots have the guy, the running back, the kid from Ohio State,
Henderson.
that
Yeah.
can go, every time he touches the ball, it's a touchdown pass. He's one of those guys. You got it. The defensive coordinator, everybody has to, when he touches the ball, everybody on the other team has to stiffen up on the sidelines because it could happen. You know,
Yeah.
So that's the critical these you have to, because I've seen several times this year, didn't necessarily touchdowns, but big gains where he's going one way and it's shut down, and then he
Yeah.
just goes the other way, and if he gets past, if he starts going downhill, it's a tough race to catch him.
You could throw him a screen pass. You
Yeah,
could
right.
do a lot of things with him. Okay, Ted, it's a 4.5 spread for the Patriots. Who do you have?
I'm gonna take the Broncos to keep it close. I think the
Okay.
Patriots will win, but I think the Broncos can keep it close.
Ted, I've been saying it all playoffs. I love me some Mike Vrabel. I love me some Drake May, and I still want to try and close the gap. So I'm going to ride with those
Sure,
Patriots and
you
think
have
that
to. You
expect
have
a
to.
27-20 kind of win for my Patriots.
Okay. Your
All right, the
Patriots.
second
Okay.
game and the game that people are saying is the de facto Super Bowl.
No, 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 no. If New England gets in, they could beat either one of these teams.
Okay. All right.
I don't know if Denver can withstand them. One
Yeah.
game, yes, not two games, tough.
Yeah.
There aren't many Jeff Rutledge. Was that his name, Jeff Rutledge?
Yes.
The
Well, how
guy with
about
the
Nick
Giants?
Foles?
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, neither one. Yeah.
Ted, at home, the Seahawks are favored by 2.5.
Yeah.
So these are division rivals. They play twice in the regular season. They split two very close games. The Rams won by 2 in one game, and the Seahawks won by 1 in the overtime in the other one.
Yeah, that weird game with the two-point conversion thing that was
And
odd.
and that was the game where the Rams were in front and had a
Yeah,
pretty solid lead, and then Shaheed has the big punt return, and the game
right.
flips on that. To your point, those special teams
Yeah.
and the
The weird
defense and special,
touchdowns
yeah.
are soul crushing sometimes, yeah.
Uh, Ted, this to me comes down to the classics tale of a good offense against a good defense. The Rams had the number one scoring offense, 30.5 points per game. Were number one in total yards and passing yards. Conversely, the Seahawks had the number one scoring defense, allowing only 17.2 points per game. Ted, to me, the other big thing about this game is Sam Darnold. Last year against the Rams, he struggled in the playoffs, had a horrible game when the Vikings got beaten in the playoffs by the Rams. And in the first game this year, he had a very bad game when the Rams beat them.
Right.
So can he play well enough and play a clean game? I think that's a critical element. I don't know what your thoughts are on this game.
I think the Rams are gonna win. Straight.
Why?
I think the combination of McVay and Stafford, they're not gonna have to concern themselves with weather because 'cause they'll be in a dome.
Well, Seattle's not a dome, but they're not going to have the weather like they had last week.
No,
Seattle's not a
okay.
dome, and they're playing in Seattle.
You're playing
Seattle's
against
not
the
a
I
dome.
oh, it's but it's partially covered, right?
No, no,
No, it's open? I thought it was
no,
oh, I'm thinking of the baseball stadium as a
yeah,
dome. Okay.
yeah.
For some reason, I always thought they were in anyway, it's not gonna be
No,
15
it's not going to be
and
5 degrees
and
and
snowing and all
no,
that other
no,
stuff,
no.
yeah. So, anyway, I still think that unless it's pouring down rain, I think the Rams will win because I think the Rams should have beat them both times.
Hmm,
I think they're better.
okay.
I'll put it that way, I think they're better. So and Seattle's been playing great. But the last 2 times we've seen him play the 49ers both times,
Yeah,
who were beat up
yeah.
and who, you know, didn't have enough
That's a fair
offense.
point. That's a fair point. As great as the win of the 49ers was over the Eagle, you wonder how much of that was the Eagles just being very dysfunctional and how much of it was, I think a little bit of it was the Niners playing well, but
Yeah, sure, of course, yeah.
but to your point, eventually the Niners, that old team just ran out of gas. And the Seahawks, the one thing about the Seahawks, Sam is on a somewhat friendly deal, so they still have the ability to put a
Right.
lot of really good players around him. Um, that team has no weakness. Charbonneau as a second running back being out is a problem because he's a hammer. I like him a lot. That's a problem. But Ted, I I I believe good defense beats good offense. I like the home field advantage. And that Mike McDonald, I just like him as a head coach. I think Darnold's going to play clean enough. I take the Seahawks in a 27-21 kind of win. So I'll take the Seahawks.
I think the Rams are gonna put up 30 and win.
Okay.
Of
We'll
course,
see.
now that means Seattle's gonna win 27-6.
There you go. There you go. All right, let's go ahead and wrap it up there for the week. Thank you to our fans for listening. Hope you're enjoying these episodes. Please continue to follow us here on millions.co. Uh, Also, you can check us out on our various social media platforms. We have a YouTube channel. We're also on Instagram, X, and Facebook. You can also email us at grumpybrothersports@gmail.com. And with that, we'll say good night, and we promise to do better next time.